President Trump worked the phones late into the evening Friday. He called the president of China to seek his help and his influence over North Korea. The White House says both leaders are committed to removing the nuclear threat from the Korean peninsula. The president also called the governor of Guam to promise that he will keep the American island safe.
If anything happens to Guam, there's going to be big trouble in North Korea.
Stepping outside his Bedminster club after meeting with his top diplomatic and national security team Friday evening. The president took questions for a fourth time in just 2 days, often focused on stepped-up tensions with North Korea's Kim Jong-un.
This man will not get away with what he's doing, believe me. Nobody loves a peaceful solution better than President Trump.
The president would not discuss any military planning in response to the regime's progress with a miniaturized nuclear weapon and its threats to launch missiles toward the U.S. island of Guam.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
Or his Friday tweet that military solutions are locked and loaded. But the president rejected criticism that his words are making things worse. On North Korea, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson suggested the president's blunt and bellicose style could hasten a diplomatic result.
I think what the president's doing is trying to support our efforts by ensuring North Korea understands what the stakes are.
President Trump traveling to storm-ravaged Texas today to offer some reassurances to the Lone Star State.
Thank you, everybody. I just want to say we love you. You are special. We're here to take care.
Touring a local emergency operations center.
The world is watching, and the world is very impressed with what you're doing.
And vowing to local officials that they will have the federal support they need.
We're going to be working with Congress on helping out the state of Texas. It's going to be a costly proposition. Probably there's never been anything so expensive in our country's history.
Mr. President, thank you. Thank you.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott praised the Trump administration's response so far, saying federal officials have kept a low profile but offered vital assistance behind the scenes.
The President and his cabinet remain in constant contact with me and my staff, and they all had one thing to say. Texas, what do you need? How can we help? You can count on us.
Trump treading carefully in Texas, stopping short of declaring a job well done as thousands of evacuees remain in storm shelters and Harvey's rain moves toward Louisiana.
We won't say congratulations. We don't want to do that. We don't want to congratulate. We'll congratulate each other when it's all finished. Thank you for coming out.
But even he couldn't resist a moment to marvel at the crowds that came out mostly to cheer the president's visit.
Thank you, everybody. What a crowd. What a turnout.
Trump's tour of Texas just days after Hurricane Harvey made landfall, marking a grim milestone in his young presidency, the first major natural disaster he has presided over. Marshaling federal assistance and offering words of comfort and resilience.
I will tell you, this is historic. It's epic what happened. But you know what? It happened in Texas, and Texas can handle anything.
The president went to Florida today to see for himself the damage done by Hurricane Irma last weekend and to talk to some of the victims. Here's Carter Evans.
On the tarmac in Fort Myers, President Trump praised Florida Governor Rick Scott for the response to Hurricane Irma.
The job that Rick has done is being talked about all over.
Aboard Marine One, the president and First Lady got an aerial view of the destruction in Naples below. On the ground, they visited a mobile home park that was badly damaged.
We love the people of Florida, and they went through something that I guess the likes of which we can really say nobody's ever seen before. They've never seen a category like this come in because it came in really at a 5. All you have to do is look at what happened in the Keys.
Hurricane Irma made landfall Sunday on Cudjoe Key as a Category 4. Later, the president handed out sandwiches and...
Here, Steve, he has a couple of questions. Go ahead.
Where was Obama on the last hurricane? He was playing golf.
After the president left the airport here at Fort Myers, he told reporters on Air Force One that he hopes to visit Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and possibly even the Florida Keys to see the damage for himself, perhaps as early as next week.
President Trump meeting families in Puerto Rico today.
We're going to help you out.
Thank you.
Have a good time.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tossing paper towels to residents impacted by Hurricane Maria and praising the federal response. The president also raised the cost of the disaster. With power still out to 93% of the island and basic aid just now trickling into some remote towns, survival takes priority over politics for people like Luis Bertrand.
We're Puerto Ricans and we're strong people. We're going to grow up again. But we need his help.
A few services are improving, and today a Navy hospital ship pulled into port offering support.
He saw the disaster that has become of the island, and I think he's going to help us get up, stand up again.
Taking the president at his word to help a day at a time.
My fellow Americans, we are joined together today in sadness, shock, and grief. Last night, a gunman opened fire on a large crowd at a country music concert in Las Vegas, Nevada. He brutally murdered more than 50 people and wounded hundreds more. It was an act of pure evil. Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. We cannot fathom their pain. We cannot imagine their loss. To the families of the victims, we are praying for you, and we are here for you. And we ask God to help see you through this very dark period. To the wounded who are now recovering in hospitals, we are praying for your full and speedy recovery, and pledge to you our support from this day forward. In moments of tragedy and horror, America comes together as one, and it always has. And may God provide the grieving families with strength to carry on. Thank you. God bless America.
The president tweeting out this video of his trip to Las Vegas, a visit to the hospital set to music. President Trump and the First Lady meeting survivors and their families, posing for photos along the way, and greeting first responders who rushed to help.
I have to tell you, it makes you very proud to be an American when you see the job that they've done.
The president offering a message of unity.
In the depths of horror, we will always find hope in the men and women who risk their lives for ours. The mass murder that took place on Sunday night fills America's heart with grief.
The Supreme Court is allowing President Trump's travel ban to take full effect. It impacts people from mostly Muslim countries: Chad, Libya, Syria, Iran, Yemen, and Somalia.
In an order issued Monday, 7 of the 9 members of the Supreme Court agreed to lift lower court restrictions and allow the travel ban to take effect while legal challenges are heard starting later this week. Many travelers from 6 Muslim-majority countries will be barred from entering the U.S., but there are exceptions. Iranian exchange students will still be allowed, while Somalis can't emigrate here but will be allowed to visit after extra security screening.
The travel ban also affects people from North Korea and various classes of would-be visitors from the nation of Venezuela.
This is Liberation Day in Iraq. Victory flags are being raised after the Prime Minister announced the final defeat of ISIS. The extremists have been driven from the last pocket of territory they still held, a stretch of ground along the Syrian border. Earlier, we spoke with journalist Rebecca Collard about the end of the fighting and what it means going forward.
This top Iraqi military commander today, he is saying that Iraq is completely liberated from ISIS fighters. Now,
President Trump, thank you for today's historic decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The Jewish people and the Jewish state will be forever grateful. Today's pronouncement by President Trump is such an occasion. We're profoundly grateful for the president for his courageous and just decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and to prepare for the opening of the U.S. Embassy here. This decision reflects the president's commitment to an ancient but enduring truth, to fulfilling his promises, and to advancing peace. The President's decision is an important step towards peace, for there is no peace that doesn't include Jerusalem as the capital of the State of Israel. I call on all countries that seek peace to join the United States in recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and to move their embassies here. I share President Trump's commitment to advancing peace between Israel and all of our neighbors, including the Palestinians. This has been our goal from Israel's first day, and we will continue to work with the President and his team to make that dream of peace come true.
The bill is passed.
Celebration on the House floor after Republicans passed a bill that would cut taxes by more than $1.4 trillion over 10 years, slash the corporate tax rate to 20% from 35%, and simplify the number of tax brackets.
It's about giving people more take-home pay. It's about raising wages.
Today, President Trump was on Capitol Hill before the vote to rally the House. Behind the scenes, he's also focused on the Senate, where tax reform faces the highest hurdle after Republicans inserted a surprise provision to repeal the Obamacare individual mandate.
President Trump today describing the moment overnight he found out his first big legislative win looks locked in.
For years, not since Ronald Reagan has anything even come close. They haven't passed him. They couldn't pass him. They couldn't get the votes.
But Republicans got the votes to pass that massive tax plan that would cut individual taxes, cut the corporate rate, and do away with some popular tax breaks while adding a new child tax credit. Approved in minutes.
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as amended, is passed.
It's not a done deal just yet. The Senate still has to square its bill with the House version to figure out, for example, the number of tax brackets, whether individual tax cuts are temporary or permanent, how generous the child tax credit should be, and whether corporate cuts should start immediately or later. That process will take some time, with Democrats now promising to use that window to fight. Mitch McConnell says Republicans hope to get a final bill on the president's desk before Christmas.
Many Americans could start to see the impact as soon as February in the form of bigger paychecks. Our senior congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, is on Capitol Hill with more on what taxpayers can expect. Good morning to you, Mary.
Good morning, Paula. Well, this is the most sweeping overhaul to the nation's tax code in a generation, likely to impact almost every single American, which has many this morning wondering how and when will this impact you.
Republicans are promising more money is coming to your wallet.
Today, we are giving the people of this country their money back.
Most households would get a tax cut. The bill doubles the standard deduction and the child tax credit.
Come February, check your check.
The IRS says you could start to see less money withheld from your paycheck as soon as February.
President Trump in Mar-a-Lago, hours after celebrating his first major legislative victory. The president today signing that tax cut bill into law.
So this is the bill right here, and we're very proud of it.
This may be the most sweeping overhaul of the tax code in a generation.
That's your bill.
David Wright joins us now live. David, you were there at the White House today. This new tax plan, by far the president's biggest legislative achievement and one of the biggest days of his presidency. And he mentioned today there in the Oval Office he hopes to carry this momentum into next year with a plan for infrastructure.
That's right, Tom, and he hopes to approach that issue with the help of the Democrats.
The American economy is strong. Employers added 228,000 jobs in November. The healthcare industry, the business sector, manufacturing, all experienced gains.
Jobs report, it is a very strong one for the Trump economy. CNN chief business correspondent Christine Romans is here. Big number.
It is another big number. I mean, it shows that employers are aggressively hiring still, continue to hire aggressively. I can show you what the job growth looks like over the past year. 228,000 net new jobs this most recent month. You can see October was 240-some. That's bouncing back after those hurricanes in September. So that's a pretty good picture of just how strong the economy is. You look in the sectors, healthcare up 30,000. These are a broad array of jobs. Some of them pay very, very well. Business services, again, a highly paid sector of the economy in many cases. Manufacturing up 31,000. That's a very strong number for manufacturing. And even construction. Entering the fall, Construction, up 23,000 net new jobs there. Those sometimes tend to be higher paid jobs. When we look at wages, up about 2.5%. If you look at overall weekly paychecks, those grew about 3%, Poppy, but that's because people are working more hours. So that's a little bit of caution in the wage front. We still haven't seen wages off to the races yet. But when I dig into these numbers, I see fewer discouraged workers, fewer marginalized workers, fewer underemployed, all these numbers going in the right direction.